You.
Thank you. You'll go right up on it. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
We start with an introduction from our interpreter, please. I was just saying, can we get an introduction from the interpreter? Is she only?
Yes, sorry. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Andrea. I'm here with the Community Language Cooperative. I'm here because you guys have committed to language justice so that people can speak and hear in the language of their heart. We're going to offer simultaneous interpretation in English and Spanish. And once we turn on the interpretation, you're going to see a globe in the bottom of your screen. Please select the language of your heart. Also remember to speak close to your microphone, to mute yourself when you're not speaking, and to point me in the right direction on your packet so that I can follow along. If at some point I cannot hear you, I'm going to turn on my camera and I'm going to just point at my headset. And that's it for me. Hola a todos, me llamo Andrea, estoy aquí con la Community Language Cooperative. Vamos a tener interpretación simultánea en inglés y en español para que todos puedan hablar y escuchar en el idioma de su corazón. Recuerden hablar cerca del micrófono y ponerse en silencio cuando no estén hablando. Y cuando aprendamos la interpretación, por favor, seleccionen en el mapa mundo que va a aparecer en la parte inferior de su pantalla el idioma de su corazón. Si son totalmente bilingües, no tienen que escoger ningún idioma. Thank you, and we can begin interpretation now.
Thank you, Andrea. I'll call this work session for the Sheridan City Council to order at 6:04 p.m. It's July 11th. We have all council members present. Our first item tonight is City Council goals discussion. Go ahead, City Manager. Oh, we've got it on the
Sorry, I
screen.
had to turn my microphone on. Hey, Mayor, if it would please you and the council, what I'm thinking is actually switching our agenda
Okay.
and having our discussion about
I think
the
that's
liquor
fine.
licensing issue first, and then whatever time we have after that, then we can talk
Yeah.
about goals until it's time for our. regular meeting.
Yeah, that's definitely a more defined topic than the goals. So-
Yeah, because if we start talking goals, that can be a wormhole where we go off forever. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
You want-
Dallas.
Dallas, if you want to do this while we.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to introduce the item, and then let our city attorney talk about this as well because he has more experience with it than I do. But wanted to set the table on how we got to this request. So we were contacted by Broken T Golf Course, wanting to see if we would allow a festival permit holder from Inglewood to do a pop-up type of event at the golf course. The reason for that was that Inglewood's golf course lost their food and beverage contractor down there. So you know how they have a restaurant, that's through a food and beverage contract. So they have somebody to come in and operate that. Well, they lost their previous food and beverage vendor down there, and the liquor license was in that vendor's name. So when they lost the vendor, they lost food, beverage, and alcohol down at the golf course. They went through a process of selection for a new food and beverage vendor. And that vendor has been working on things down there. And my understanding is that they're up and operating enough to have some food options available, but they do not yet have a liquor license. They came in and had discussions with our staff early on. And my understanding of their discussion was that they told, I think, our staff that they wanted to get things up and operating over there before they applied for their liquor license, which is kind of backwards of the way you probably should have done it. Because the state is backed up, how far, Jenna? 3-4 months? Yeah, 3-4 months on liquor license applications at the moment. So the situation was such that they're looking at having a vendor over there that is not able to serve alcohol at the golf course, like through the whole summer almost now is the worry. So they're scrambling, trying to figure what can we do, if anything. The legislature, I think it was this past session, created a new liquor license that local authorities, that the state and local authorities can issue, called a festival permit. And what this festival permit will allow is a license holder to do, I think it's up to 8, kind of like pop-up type of 9, thank you, Bill, 9 kind of like pop-up festival events. A lot of this, I think, came out of COVID and some of the, practices and the flexibility with cities trying to work with vendors to give them options on serving. So Inglewood gave me a call and said, look, we've got a local license holder that I think operates over, does stuff at Pirates Cove. And they hold a festival permit. Each of the, and let me take a quick step back. The way that the state set up this new kind of permit was that local authorities could opt in if they wanted to issue this through your local licensing authority or not. You don't have to issue this if you don't want to. Inglewood did because they had some of their license holders, or one at least, approach them and say, hey, we'd like to take advantage of this. So they put together the process and issued them a festival permit. The folks at the golf course called me up and said, hey, do you think that we could be all right if they came over and did some of their pop-up events or festival events here at the golf course? Because we don't have anything else going on as far as beverages or food and beverage along those kind of lines. And I said, look, as far as I'm concerned, it sounds like a great idea. We want folks to be happy there, and have a cold one when you're done with your round. I know I'll enjoy that, but I said, wait, let me check in with this. So I was talking with Bill, and we kind of run it by Bill and with Jenna, trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to do this? And Bill's recommendation was that we go ahead and, as a local authority, put together or authorize our authorities to do a local or a festival permit ourselves. And I think at that point, I'll turn it over to Bill. And I don't know if there's anything in particular that you want to talk about that council needs to know about this, but that's the background as to why we're considering this tonight.
You can get 9 events for 72 hours. Why I think,
Can't hear you.
and why I think we should do it are principally so when they have a permit that they have a control plan. So we can ensure that only people who are eligible get into whatever the area, and only people who are eligible get served and are able to consume alcohol. And also, most importantly, make sure that we collect all sales tax.
Mhm.
And so by having some control over that, then that allows us to have the control over it and make sure that it's an event that's subject to certain restrictions, really just for public health and safety.
That actually makes a lot more sense now that you said 72 hours, because that way they can actually do like every weekend, but almost through the summer then, right?
Well, no, so the permit is for a 72, I believe it's just for, up to, it's for a 72-hour period. I think it's a period of time of 72 hours, meaning they could do it like for an entire weekend, perhaps.
But every time they want to do a festival, they have to come and get a permit.
Well, no, or they can get the permits good for 9 within a calendar year,
Okay.
right?
I get
Wait, once they get the permit, but they can't exceed that. No, you have the, yeah, so you have the permit, which will allow you for that year to have so many events. That's the easiest way to do it, rather, because you're going to want the control. I mean, if they're going to have them at the same place, I mean, you want the control plan to be in effect.
So if they have multiple events that are at different locations, they would have to submit a different control plan for those.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but you could do that under the same permit.
Yeah, just that whoever the permit holder is, they couldn't have more than 9 a year.
Yeah, I think so, but the state law really sets that maximum,
Yeah.
that ceiling of how many can
Right.
you have. And then the local authorities can work with the applicants on the control and how all of that works.
And then I think you were telling me we're gonna set some criteria administratively, I guess, on how we would review the plans and things like that.
Right, so you should have hard copies. I think, Jen, did you put hard copies up there of a draft permit? So you can kind of see what kind of information we would require for them to submit. And then that would go to our staff for review.
And then there's also a state application they'd have to submit as well.
Oh, really?
Yes, they do have to go through the state as well, so it's great.
And what's unique about it is they can have other licensees participate
Mhm.
in their permit, which is something that's, you don't commonly find in liquor code.
And so this is this is the first time I've run across this. We obviously, we've not issued this, any of these types of licenses before. And I don't know a lot of cities who have, yeah, because
No.
it's so new. Yeah. But the reason we wanted to bring it to council for your consideration is that we'd like to be able to do something for the golf course, to try and help them out if we can. And this doesn't seem like it's too onerous, and it has the controls we would want to see on this as well. And obviously they're a license holder with the Inglewood local licensing authority, so they'd kind of be under double thumbs here. You're not only going to have going through us, but they have their own license to and the status of that to be consideration for with Inglewood. So I don't think that this is going to be a bad operator. It's somebody who wants to, that they already have doing events at city properties that, like I said, at Pirates Cove, they already operate and do stuff there for the city. So I think this particular one's a pretty good operator from my understanding.
And what's kind of unique about it, they don't allow it for all licensees. They allow it for manufacturers, limited wineries, wholesale beer and wine license, hotel, restaurant, brew pub, vintners and distillery pubs, but they don't allow it for retail liquor stores or liquor licensed drugstores or taverns or club licenses. There must have been some special group that was lobbying
Right.
the legislature to get this done.
So just so I'm clear though, are we saying they don't have to have the state or our city license already to get one of these? Or do they have to have one of those?
They have to have the state,
Okay.
and then the local authority can opt whether to issue a local permit or not.
Okay, so how is this helping them? Because didn't you say it was the state that's the holdup?
No, because this would not be their new food and beverage vendor. This would be another license holder, food and beverage
Oh,
holder
okay. This
that
is-
already has a license with Inglewood.
Okay,
And
Yeah.
somebody who's eligible to have a
Yeah.
festival
I
permit.
see.
Yeah, so they have gone, this is an existing license holder with Inglewood, with their local licensing authority. And they have applied through Inglewood and the state for the festival and have received a festival permit.
I see.
So they have both the local permit and the festival permit, and they're asking, can we come into Sheridan and do it here? And like I said, my response to them initially was, I don't have, sure, it sounds like good. But, to Bill's point, it made sense for us to say, hey, we don't mind you come in, but why don't you just go through our local process? And that way we get copies of the control plan. We make sure you're submitting sales tax, all those kind of things.
Mhm.
And it's, it's fair. It doesn't require a hearing and any of those kind of things. It's really administrative paperwork.
Yes.
Is what it comes down to.
Mhm.
A small fee and administrative paperwork.
How's it monitored though? I mean, because I'm assuming, so it's like at Pirates Cove, it's outside.
Mhm.
It's like a beer truck, right?
Yeah. So it would be, they're subject to the same,
Yeah, they have to
kind-
have the IDs and all that, right?
Yeah.
How-
Well, I mean, we have those requirements in there,
Right.
but I mean, obviously, you're not gonna have somebody down there. It's gonna be like most liquor things are. If there's a violation, it's that you get a complaint, so it's
Right.
complaint driven.
So,
But this is the framework for them to comply with, otherwise they would have had nothing.
So it's by no means perfect for, for doing it down there. We're just trying to help Inglewood out and help the golf course out by doing this is what it kind of boils down to. And then we'd have that permit in place and potentially, although we haven't had any of our license holders approach us, I think because it is so new, I don't think a lot of people
Yeah.
even know about this. But we would have that as an option if we have folks that, I was talking with the mayor before this. I don't know if we had those folks from Mountain Crust come through with the rezoning. I don't know if they do alcohol or something like that, but I know they have food trucks and do catering and things along those lines. And maybe somebody like that would be interested in holding this type of a festival permit that would allow them to go out, several times a year and do something. And this allows them, I think it allows them a little bit more flexibility than say trying to do a special event permit every single time that they want to do
Right.
something. This kind of says all right, you go through this, you do this, and as long as you qualify, you can do 9. All you got to do is submit a new control plan or do some administrative type paperwork rather than go through the whole thing every single time.
And the special event permits are really geared to not liquor licensees, but private entities such as charities or so that want to have an event that allows them to serve liquor. That's a common use for the special event permit.
I assume you don't make them have portable toilets if they have them at the place, like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be just part of that plan that,
Yeah.
and I can tell you that, we don't have to worry about this particular thing because the golf course is going to make sure they have everything that they're going to have to comply with everything that the golf course wants over there for them to carry this off. So I'm not worried about this particular one. And then if we had any other future ones that wanted to do something at a venue here in Sheridan event, we would absolutely, as part of that control plan, they have to submit, okay, how are you going to do all these types of things? How are you going to handle that?
Such as the VFW, maybe.
The VFW is another one,
Yeah.
right? So they might be somebody that might be interested in holding this, gives them some flexibility. And again, it's not, it's 2 pages of paperwork that you hand in and a small fee. So pretty cheap and easy when you consider local, liquor licensing in general, which can be,
Right.
as you guys know, can be pretty onerous and should be.
That's a lot of toilets, though. I mean, I don't know where you got this chart from, but that,
I'm not sure what you're.
there's a
referencing.
Oh,
There's a
it's-
chart
about-
for toilets,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a suggestion. I mean, that is,
it's,
It's not the final draft
okay.
that we're gonna have.
we don't even have to
Seems like a
have
lot.
that in there if you don't
You know how
want that.
expensive those are?
Yeah, I mean, I just found it because for what, if people had done a large outdoor event, it's,
Yeah. But it's good. It's something, most places have an idea if they're experiencing doing this, you say, attach your control plan and it's something they've already got up and they just stick it in there with it. But, you can have, for those that might not know it, that I know as an example that Bill felt, I know that I've seen Inglewood's form and they have kind of suggestive language in there too, saying, all right, you need to address these things just to help them out. It's more of a fill in the blank
Suggestion.
to help folks out.
Okay.
Does council have any other questions about that? Concerns? The other one thing that I know is in there that we didn't mention is that there is a 10-day notice. So they can't just pop up tomorrow. That you have to give the holder has to give a 10-day notice, wasn't it, Bill?
yeah, and that's in the CRS. I mean,
Okay.
that's in the.
So they wouldn't just come in and be able to just, boom, oh, I got mine and show up that day. So.
There should not be a lot of staff work involved in it. It's pretty-
No, and just for this one, this particular type of thing with going down the golf course is really good in notifying not only us and our staff, but our police department when they're going to have big events down there, if they're going to have big tournaments or something like anything that could impact traffic or could potentially generate calls down there. They're generally pretty good about letting us know in advance of that. And especially with the police department, if they have something going on where they're in the past where they've had, big tournaments, have lots of people and, a cookout and booze and all that kind of stuff, they let our PD know, just to be aware of it. Any other questions or anything, any concerns, I should say? Okay. So that's just the legislative action on behalf of the local licensing authority, correct, Bill? It's not really it's not a quasi judicial
No,
process,
that-
anything
no,
along those lines like that?
The statute specifically allows the local liquor license authority to adopt a permit. I just turned it off. Thank you.
Okay,
All right,
all right.
let's move along then, unless anybody has anything else.
Yeah, now let me switch gears over here. So I'm going to talk about goal setting. And everybody should have a hard copy of the implementation matrix, printed one out for everybody so that you can have something to scratch notes down and thoughts and things as we go through this. And let me kind of start from the very beginning for the benefit of our newer members. Every year we go through a goal setting process with the city council and focus on putting together 6 or 7 goals and objectives that address what the council would like to work towards and prioritize over a 2-year period. And this is really kind of the beginning also of our budget process. It helps inform our budget formation as we move forward and think of things that we need to prioritize for funding. This helps to direct the staff when we start thinking of those and what kind of priority action items we need to make sure that we're funding in there. So what we do is that we will meet as a council and kind of start where we left off, usually each year, and review our goal statements and say, okay, do we like this goal statement? Does it need to be modified in any way? Does it need to be eliminated? Do we need new ones? And kind of go through that process. I will caution the council that too many goals can be very onerous on you as a council, on us as a staff, and us as a city. I think we found that we're somewhere in the range of 5 to 8 goals or somewhere around in there is pretty good. Definitely less than 10, I would say. You don't want to turn this into a Christmas tree and start trying to, do everything and everything through this. We really want to think about prioritization and what's really important to us that we want to focus on, because we do have limited resources. We have limited staff, we have limited revenues, and the ability to carry out projects in an effective and efficient manner. So that's our process. What we do is that we will start with the 2 left-hand columns. We start with goal statements and objectives. And what I like to do is talk through these statements and objectives with the council. And like I said, say, okay, are we good with this goal? Does it need to be changed? The objectives under there, have they been completed? Do we need new objectives? Do we have ones that have not been completed? Are they still a priority or not? And work through those 2 left-hand columns. When we feel that we're in a good spot as far as going through and we feel good about our goal statements and feel good about the associated objectives with that, then what I will do is go off with staff, and staff will look at these goals and objectives and say, okay, what priority action items are there that we can accomplish or that we can work towards over the next year to 2 years that will help accomplish those goals and objectives. And they go through, we identify those and put them in the matrix here and talk about who's going to have the lead on that, what staff will be doing that, and then what's the current status. Sometimes some of those things are already in process, or sometimes not at all. We haven't got to those yet. But we'll do a status update on that. When we bring that all back to council again to make sure that you are feel comfortable with those priority action items and making sure they're addressing the goals and objectives that you have as a council. If we need to add or subtract, they are your goals and objectives, absolutely. But we try and do that, as a collaborative process between the staff and the council, and everybody have some ownership in building this, our goals and objectives in this matrix here. So that's our process. Any questions about that? Concerns? Some of our veteran council members, anything you would like to change about that, or new ideas that you have, or process, or anything along those lines? Okay. With that being said, tonight we can start on talking about the goals side of things and in reviewing the goals, and we can go through one at a time and talk on objectives as well, or we can just kind of focus on just the goals. And I'm thinking maybe I'd like to focus just on the goals to get started with. I think we can get through those fairly quickly tonight. Except for maybe the last one on sustainability. I'm not happy with the language. We need new language. So we'll work on that. We'll think about that, what that works like. But to kick us off, I'll talk about our first one. So the city of Sheridan will provide, maintain, and improve city infrastructure. Very standard type of goal for municipalities. A lot of what we do in our core service provision is the development, the development and the maintenance of public infrastructure. It's our streets, it's our sidewalks, it's our storm sewers, it's water delivery in some aspects. It's our public buildings, it's our park facilities, all that is public infrastructure. You can see that in the past, we've prioritized, we had the driving change. And that has a lot been accomplished. And I will say this before we get in here and you say, man, Devin, there's a lot of stuff in there that's already checked off. Yes, there is. And I left that in there because we do have some new council members. I wanted them to see, okay, we have, had some goals and what those look like and what that looks like when they're completed. So you're aware of that, kind of what some of the things that we've accomplished over the past few years. I think when we bring this forward, things like driving change, that whole part's going to go away and you won't see it. We're going to make sure we're focusing on what is current and what we want to work on into the future. But I think you can't really do a great job of that unless you kind of tie into the past too and see where you've been and what you've done. So that's why I left some of that stuff in there. You'll just see it'll say completed, but checked off. But it also gives you an idea of what are we kind of looking at, or how do we fill out this matrix, just as an idea. And the matrix is just intended to be a snapshot, right? It's intended to be, it's a document that is constantly changing. So it's a snapshot in time of where we are as a city, as a council, as a staff on working on these items. And I've always tell council that, I think this is a great cheat sheet if you're an elected official. If you get a question about, hey, what's going on with the sidewalk or improvement program? Oh, right here, I can tell you kind of where we are. I have questions about that. Oh, well, DG, RM, Devin Granberry, Randy Morning. You can talk to those guys about it. They're taking the lead on that. Or, whatever other project that somebody has something, you can say, oh yeah, we completed all that. We're done with that. Or whatever it might be. We're going to have a public hearing next month on that. So it's a nice kind of glance at where are we and what are we focusing on and where that status, where are we moving along on that. So good cheat sheet to hang and keep handy. So to focus back onto infrastructure. We've had in the past, so the driving change, capital improvement program, sidewalk improvement program, stormwater program review, truck weight restrictions, comprehensive land use plan updates, parks and rec, open space support, city buildings. This is a big one. This is a lot in city infrastructure because it's a lot of what we do. Improve city bus stops. That's some of our newer objectives in there. Signage for the city. That's part of our infrastructure. So a lot out there. Some other items that might be considered is lighting and air quality infrastructure. We're starting to acquire some of that type of stuff. So we've got the capabilities to work towards those things. So infrastructure wise, as a goal statement, what do you guys as a council feel about that? Like I said, it's kind of local government 101 goal statement, but that's what you're going to find, right? Your goals should reflect what you're supposed to be doing and your core service delivery to your constituents, and your goals should reflect that. And so that is, infrastructure is probably after in our budget, after we pay for personnel costs, infrastructure is number 2. So big money. Thoughts on that? Do you like the way it reads? Do you have any thoughts, anybody? And I know I just kind of threw it on you, and we don't have to do this all tonight. We'll just kind of walk through here. And if you guys want me to keep going, I will keep going. Don't worry. And
I think that one is nice and simple. It's good.
it is simple.
It describes the goal. Yeah.
It has to
Perfect.
stay because that's what we sell.
It is. It's what we
That's
do.
what we got for sale.
Yeah.
Well, that
One of the
public
items.
safety.
Right.
That's the main thing.
And then
I agree
When
with
we're
you.
finished, all the little check mark thingies, ones that are completed, obviously will go away, other
Yes.
than things like the sidewalk improvement, because that's kind of an ongoing.
Yeah, we do have some
Maintain-
stuff that's gonna be
maintain.
ongoing.
Right.
Yeah, and sometimes I put that in there just so that, again, if you get questions about it, it's in there and people will go, well, I don't know how many people walk up to you and go, hey, let's talk about infrastructure in general, but
Right.
theoretically, if somebody wanted to know, you could say, yes, we do have a sidewalk improvement program. It's an ongoing program. You can talk with Devin about it or Randy about it. And, it's something that we fund in every year's budget. So some of those ongoing stuff, it's kind of obvious. We'll leave it in there. Just, it's a public information aspect too.
And so then, once the Santa Fe thing is done and the
Mhm.
Hampton is done, those things, whatever they decide to come up with, would be added as well, right?
I think that is actually, it would be really good. You would want to go in here. So one of your objectives could possibly be implementation of recommendations from the Santa Fe PEL study, right? That's an objective. And under that, a priority action item could be completion of bike lanes along Oxford corridor.
Right.
That was one of the ones that came out of that, or, there's several that came out of that.
So
Yeah.
could we, because those have been, they're in the works and
Mhm.
approved, whatever, we could actually add those in already.
Oh, I think so. I think you got stuff that you want to reflect, as long as it reflects the priorities that you have as a council, we can include this in anything in here. Absolutely. We want it to reflect, this is what's important to us and this is what we want to be focusing and spending time and money.
Well, there you go. That's what Sally wants to put in there.
Spend time and money on that. I hear you.
Is your
Stick that in there.
microphone on? Andrea's having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, no, it's on.
Okay, she just can't hear you.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
Sorry, Andrea. So
But that's a
All
great
of the
example. We were talking about those earlier today.
the PEL and the walking trail over there on the Santa Fe Hampton loop thingy, that would be a good one. And then the Hampton PL, whatever comes out of that, I don't know.
It depends on what we're.
And we could
actually-
be real specific with objectives like that, or you could maybe want to talk about objectives. And I again, I don't care. It's however you guys want to go, but you could maybe have an objective saying address pedestrian needs in certain areas of the city or something like that. And that's, would come out of that PEL as well. So, you
So
can
then
look
it
at
maybe-
objectives like that as well.
Maybe a good objective would be, because I know the things on the Santa Fe PEL, one of the things going to be addressed is the Oxford
Mhm.
crossing there for pedestrians. And then also the Santa Fe Hampton loopy thing where they walk on the dirt trail, that's going to be addressed
Right.
in the Santa Fe PEL. or the Hampton. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
That was
But
part of the Santa Fe.
That's
PPL.
Santa Fe, right?
Mhm.
So that would be maybe a good thing for an objective for us as a, as a goal to make sure that we're moving along and it's getting done and whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I don't disagree at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that's a great example, of something like that. We've gotten specific on our objectives here before. So we're driving change as a very specific type of an objective, and had measurables and very specific projects and things like that. And we love those things in there. And I think that that's a great type of thing to include in there as well. So, and I think it's important too, if you even say, hey, well, we know we know we want to do that, or we're in the process of even doing that, include it. I mean, you should put some low hanging fruit, right? And maybe that's not the best way to put it, but what you want to see in there is that even if it's in progress or things like that, what you're trying to do with this is communicate as a group and as a city. These are our priorities. These are our objectives, right? So, yeah.
Right.
And the hard part, obviously, starts to get to how do you not include everything in here? And you can't include everything in here. It's just too much. We have to prioritize. We can't do everything. We can't be everything for everybody. And recognizing that is
No,
a
but
hard
since
thing to do.
driving change is going out, we could put pedestrian change in its place.
Something. Yeah. So if we want to have, I mean, that's something that you can talk about as a county. We want to have a pedestrian focus
A pedestrian
on something,
safety focus
yeah.
or pedestrian safety,
Yeah.
maybe could call it that. or
Could be part of that as well. So,
Making a
and-
note.
yeah, and part of that is, like I said, in our process again, and we'll go as a staff and we'll go sit as a staff, and Andrew's a really smart guy, and he's going to
Yes,
help
he
us fill
is.
out a lot of these kind of things on because he's over there, and I know he's already
Wheels are
got
already turning.
5 million good ideas on how to do a lot of these things, and we'll make sure that gets incorporated, and we bring it back to you and make sure that you as a council are comfortable and like that, though, because this is your council goals. So. Yeah, so, okay, so what I'm hearing right now, I'm not hearing any objection to the goal of leaving that our infrastructure goal kind of the way it is, in that consideration, and you guys can start thinking about, okay, what are those objectives? What do they look like? Do you classify it with specific projects, or is it certain subjects? Is it pedestrian? Is it pedestrian safety? Is it pedestrian in general, multimodal? Is it big? And then we can still work on bringing that down. And maybe if it's big, it breaks into 2 or 3 objectives, depending on that. And we can, as a staff, help out with that.
Well, and then also the other piece I think that's important is that maybe we can, identify some stuff that we can send over to Dr. Cog and the Repo Transportation Forum to get approved.
Yep.
So we can get some grant money.
Yeah. And that's another great thing that you're touching on. When we go out there and we're looking for grants and we're doing those types of things, lots of grantees want to go, all right, how do we know this is something that's a priority for your city? This is something that you are, serious about. You're not just wasting our time, pulling our leg, seeing if you can get some money or not.
See, Sally's
And
wheels are
having it in an adopted goals, having a adopted set of goals and objectives and priority action items, and then you show this to them, and you go, no, see, we have taken our time to do this and think about this and talk about this, and that can help you. I'm not saying with all, but it can help you with some grants that you
certainly
have.
can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I would encourage you, I think the takeaway right now is that we like the infrastructure grant. I would ask council to look at the objectives under that grant. Cross off the ones you think we're all done with. Scribble under there ones that you want to add or modify. That's why I gave you guys hard copies. Go ahead and write on here, and then when we have our goal setting session, we can come back and it'll be we'll sit around a table. We'll get out the whiteboards. We'll do all that kind of stuff and start writing it all down.
So on that, I have a question.
Yeah.
The objective for the truck weight restrictions
Mm-hmm.
and the status updates staff met with? Because it looks like the action items are done, but it doesn't look like anything came out of it.
That's exactly right.
So-
That's exactly
that-
what happened,
What do we
unfortunately.
do?
Yeah,
do we
nothing
do
really
now?
did come out of that. That effort was, and that's pretty old now. I went back and forth on whether to leave that in there because those meetings we had were many years ago. The response to that was,
Oh, humbug.
oh, it was quite angry and, yeah, very negative. And, at the time when, and it's been a while, so I'm trying to think back on this. At the time, we kind of reported back to council the input that we got from 2 or 3 public meetings we had on that, and it was all incredibly negative. And as I recall, like the council, at the time, couldn't really come together, and staff was kind of at the same way going, I'm not sure which way to go on this. Because it was,
This is why we
it
have
was so
Dallas around.
negative. I mean, there were people sitting in this room going, if you do this, we're going to come in and recall, we're going to do recall elections. We're going to do all that kind of stuff. And
Alice, you remember this? Read it. That's why we have him around.
yeah, no, so it was pretty angry. There was, lawsuits threatened, recall
So
elections.
then what do we
threatened.
do with that?
Well, you need to decide as a council, do you still want to pursue that or not?
Okay.
There hasn't been, it's just kind of been one of those that we made the effort, we went out and met with people, and we talked with people, and it was like, holy crap, excuse my language, but it was like, holy cow, there was a whole lot of pushback on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I'm not going to go through those objectives right now. Why don't you guys go and kind of look through those, and you can see I've updated a little bit with priority action items there. Like the checked ones are done or ongoing, and the circle ones are newer ones that are either current or future, and things that we considered for during our last goals update. And I'm sorry, on that last objective under that goal, it says improve increased city signage. I meant those aren't all checked off, and that's just a typo. I'm sorry. Those are all brand new. They shouldn't be checked off under historical, interpretive, directional, and entryway. Our next goal statement, the city of Sheridan will promote economic development efforts citywide. Economic development is one of those kind of overarching kind of goals that touches on a lot of different things. It can touch on your capital infrastructure. It can touch on your communications. It can be any number of things under economic development, sustainability types of efforts, all those kind of things. It's your business relationships. It's your, as much as it might not seem like it, but when we go through and we streamline our building code and we streamline our development review processes and all that, that's economic development, making it easier and more efficient and effective for applicants to come through and use our services. That saves them time, saves them money, us as well. So those are economic development types of issues as well. So it touches on a lot of different aspects of things that we do. And that's why we've had it as a goal statement, I think ever since we've been doing goals, since I came on board with the city. So the city of Sheridan, again, will promote economic development efforts citywide. Thoughts on that one? Do we want to have an economic development goal statement?
Yes. Yep, I
Yep.
think probably a good idea.
I'm saying nods mostly on that. Yeah. One of the other things I'll say is that, the goals and everything as you'll see as they flow through the objectives and priority action, they're not going to be necessarily all contained in their own little silo, right? They're going to crisscross. They're going to be able, and what you'll see in the matrix is actually in a lot of different areas, you'll see wait, didn't I read that exact same thing back over here? I'm like, yep, you did. Because it's applicable not only in economic development, but it might be applicable in Parks and Rec. It might be applicable in community development, all kinds of different things. So I don't try and, silo things. We just try and put them under, the most appropriate goal with the understanding that this, an objective or a priority action item might address 2 or 3 different goals or objectives. Okay, so we like that. Under there, under some of the objectives we've had there has been design and implement economic development strategy, the Sheridan Redevelopment Authority, which is kind of an ongoing thing. South Platte River corridor improvements, which seems to be an ongoing thing as well, which is good. Business licensing, kind of these code reviews, they're almost kind of ongoing as well, but we've kind of done them as projects kind of as we move through. So we've done a lot of those, and that's why they're checked off there as completed on a lot of those. Comprehensive plan, that's something that you want to look at doing every 10 years about. Yeah, Andrew. And we're coming up, we're coming close. Probably not this year and probably not next year, but maybe the year after that. I think we would start that process, and just as an FYI on a comprehensive land use process, that takes about a year to go through that whole process. The good thing is that we've got really good staff who have done those. A lot of cities farm those out and do those out of house, but Andrew's done one, did our last one. And you did, well, you helped Jennifer and you worked on it. The side of it, yeah. But I will say that we got good staff that knows how to do this. Anyway, it's a year-long process. It's a very big undertaking by the Planning and Zoning Commission. One of their primary duties is to develop and recommend a comprehensive land use strategy for the city council. And we've got, they did a great job, I think, the last time around with that. We got a lot of folks that were on council or on P&Z when we did the last one, probably too. So that'd be good. But we're probably still a couple years out from a comp plan update, just to let you know. Some of the newer ones that we've looked at and talked about objectives under this goal has been vacant used lot development, housing assessment, and retail marijuana review. So our retail marijuana program has been up and running for a few years now. And does council want to take a look at that and say, okay, are we happy with it? Do we want to make changes? There's, addition, subtraction, something along those lines. So that's been a discussion point as well. There's probably a lot of other things that you can consider on economic development. Economic development is kind of like sustainability too, and they overlap a lot. So it's going to be a lot of things that could go on either one of these, and we'll kind of have to sift through that when we work through that. But that's the economic development aspect right there. Any questions or comments on that goal statement? Okay. Let's move on to we'll just get through this one more and then we can take a break before the regular meeting, Mayor. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thing about goal setting, you can, it eats the time up pretty quick. All right, our third goal statement is that the city of Sheridan will develop and support parks and recreation and trail and cultural amenities and opportunities. This is one of those, it's kind of trying to include a lot of things in there, which is fine. And we've accomplished quite a bit under this one as well. But this is where we talk about a lot of the South Platte stuff that's been going on, working with South Suburban and the county on efforts, which has been the new library, which has been completed for a while. The only outstanding thing on that has been the annexation. It was just for our newer members, was discussion upon completion of the library. Well, should back up. There was discussion before they did the improvement of the library of annexing that property into Sheridan. They wanted to be annexed into Sheridan. But the boundary adjustment process of working with the city and county of Denver is fairly onerous. And the library district decided at the time that they didn't want to delay things by almost a year, which is what it takes to go through the Denver boundary adjustment process, it's my understanding. And so they said, well, let's not delay or, you know, kind of convolute our process of trying to get a new library built here. And then what we'll do is we'll take it up on the back end and look at doing an annexation on the back end of that. And that's just never really come back up like onto the burner for anybody as a priority. I think it is, again, it's that year-long boundary adjustment process of going through it with Denver that nobody's excited about. I don't know whether it's necessary or not. It was really just it was a matter of the Sheridan Library ought to be in Sheridan. I don't think anybody probably knows that it isn't. I don't know. And I don't know how much of a priority it is for the Sheridan district staff who would have to basically kind of walk this through. So that's where that is. And that's why that still remains on there, because that's been a number of years ago as well. Because that annexation just never took place.
Kind of got forgotten, it seems like.
Yeah, it's just one of those,
That's-
it's
which
like,
is okay.
it's
I mean,
on so far on a back burner, you can't see it.
I mean, we look at it every year. It's just not like you said, it's not a priority.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then rec center. Rec center, I think will still be an item for us here and looking at what we think and want to do there. So, and that has been on there. I think the rec center and improvements and what to do there and talk about it has been since day one that we were doing goals. And we'll continue to stay on there for a bit. So jumping back, City of Sheridan will develop and support parks and rec and trails and cultural amenities and opportunities. It's a little bit of a mouthful. It's a little bit of an awkward. That was kind of one of those wordsmithing ones, you know, when you're going through and you're trying to come up with a goal that addresses a lot of different things and that. So you sometimes come up with these, you know, word jumble goals, which is, it can be fine. I think most people could read that and go, yeah, I know what it means. I get what you're trying to do there. Or we could look at rewording it. It's really kind of up to you guys and, you know, what level of comfort you have with it and whether or not you'd like to make any adjustments to it, or whether you think we need to have it, or how do we address that in a different way? And again, just think about it right now. We don't have to come up with the wording right now. Okay. Mayor, we're running up on time. Let me see what we got. Public safety is the next one. And again, a real standard. This is a, you know, a city goal 101. You want to, if you do infrastructure, the other thing that's right up there with infrastructure that you provide to the public is public safety, and responsible for that. So I think it needs to stay on there. We work with the chief in the police department on looking at what kind of goals or objectives that we have on there, but we want to hear from council. You know, what are your objectives for our police department? What would you like them to be working on or want them to be thinking about? What are those priorities? What do they look like? So think that one, I don't think you can take that off of there. I think it's just kind of, it's one of those givens. If you wanted some different language on there though, think about that. In how that might play for you as well. Then I'd encourage you to go look at the other goal statements and objectives. And again, don't get hung up on the priority action items because all that's going to change. We're going to kind of start from scratch on a lot of those priority action items and bring that back to you. So then you can go through them and go, okay, I like that. Or what about this? Or what about that?
Do you think
And
you'll,
we can get into the weeds on
you
that.
think you'll clean up that a little bit before we meet again?
Yes.
Because I mean, I know there's a lot of things like we've talked about that have been done. I mean, we've had more parks worked on,
Yeah.
you know, and completed even since last time we updated this. So
Yeah, we can do some more update. Again, I wanted to leave a lot of it, just kind of some of it the way it was, so you
But
can
maybe
see
just
what it was.
update it to more recently completed
Yeah.
instead of ancient completed stuff.
Yeah, we can do some status update, because on
Yeah.
on the far, on the status side, we
Yeah.
haven't updated that in a long time.
Mhm.
But again, please focus, as put your efforts on the goal statements and the objectives and what you think that, so, you look at the goal statements, the objectives, the priority action items, everything starts to get more specific as we go along. And we'll have time to get in, like I said, to get into the weeds on those priority action items. And it's like the mayor was telling me before the meeting, that's where the fun is. And you're right, it is where the fun is, that's where you get to talk about, what things, how to do things. And that is fun, but we got to get through these goals and objectives first, and then get on to those priority action items. So take a look through those. If you have questions, I'm happy to, answer anything if you guys got between now and then. The last thing I want to touch on is that on the goal setting session, I sent out an email with looking at the date of using a week from tonight, our next off Monday night. I heard from everybody except from Don and from Sally as to their availability. Terrence,
I'll be there.
no, it's your daughter's birthday.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
I mean, I'm happy to look at another date because
No, I'll be there.
That's why I didn't answer, because I figured that, oh, well,
I just want to make sure you're sure about
Yeah,
that.
I'm positive.
How old is this child?
It's gonna be 11.
I can also record the meeting and get you a copy of that if you'd like.
We could do that.
No, I'll be there.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I'll be there.
I want you to know though, I'm happy to come up with another date, and I know we could.
I'll be there.
Okay. All right. So Don, how about you, sir? That works? Okay. What we'll do, we'll start at 6. We'll go from 6 to 8. I'll try and end us. We don't want to just go on and on and on. And we'll have like some pizza or something for everybody to munch on.
That's the 18th, yes.
Yes, sir. Week from tonight. And we'll just do it in here. And I think we'll bring in a table or something and sit around the table. So we're not having to look across the room and have, these mics and stuff on.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Wanna
Thank you,
take
Mayor.
a 2 or 3 minute break here. We'll
Yeah.
adjourn this meeting at 6, what is that? 6:58 maybe. All right. We'll reconvene. Everybody, thanks for the nice break.
You want to turn
Right, so we got something done. All right, but we'll get going here. Andrea, if you can hear me, can you do an introduction?
Still on. Ah,
There you
it's off
are.
now. There it is. All right. Hi, everybody. We're going to be practicing language justice in this meeting. Please remember to speak close to your microphone, to mute yourself when you're not speaking, and to point me on the packet where you're going to be reading. Once we turn on the interpretation, please select the language at the world map that is going to be at the bottom of your screen, or if you're on your phone or tablet, please select the 3 little dots or where it says more to find your interpretation channel. Hola a todos, vamos a practicar la justicia del lenguaje en esta reunión. Por favor, asegúrense de hablar cerca al micrófono y mantenerse en silencio cuando no estén hablando. Cuando prendamos la interpretación van a ver un mapa mundo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Por favor, selecciónenlo y escojan su idioma. Si son totalmente bilingües, no tienen que escoger ningún idioma. Y si están en su teléfono o tableta, por favor, denle clic a los 3 punticos donde dice More para seleccionar su idioma. Thank you, and we can begin interpretation now.
Thank you. I'll call this regular meeting of the Sheridan City Council to order for July 11th, 2022. Time is 7:15 p.m. Can I get roll call, please?
Yes. Councilmember Hall,
Present.
Stang. Here. Daigle,
Here.
Mayor Biderfler,
Here.
Councilmember Whitaker,
Present.
Smith,
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We rise for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we just so grateful that we have the opportunity to gather in person at this time. We ask for your continued guidance and wisdom for those of us behind the dais, for those in administration, as well as we embark on strategic planning here in the near future, Lord. We just ask that you bless that and bless our thoughts and our ideas towards that, so that we can continue to make Sheridan a better place for everyone. We ask for blessings over, of course, the staff, as always, the police department, fire department, the EMTs, all of the business owners and the folks that come and go and visit the city of Sheridan. And as always, the citizens would bless them, Lord, and keep them safe. And we ask all of these things in your mighty name. Jesus, amen.
Amen.
I
pledge
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes to our agenda?
Changes to the agenda.
We have an opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone who'd like to speak to City Council tonight?
Not at this time, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We'll go on to staff reports. City Clerk.
Just make sure to check your mailbox. There's some things in everybody's mailboxes. So
Okay, thanks for the reminder. City Attorney.
Nothing to report.
Okay, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. Couple heads up, the bus stop project will be starting construction here. Is it this week, Andrew, or next week? Today, yes. And I can't remember if we briefed everybody on this, but just and for the public that's out there, they'll be doing them kind of in groups of like 3 or 4 stops at once, and they'll complete that. Then they'll move on to another group of like 3 or 4 and do that way. So when you see an area kind of under construction, they'll be there for, a few days and then move on to the next one. We'll try and, as we get updates on the schedule and where it looks like they're going to be, we'll try and share that out with folks as well, so you can be aware of that. Talked about goal setting, the elevator. I just want, we'll have an item for you to approve the fixing the elevator out here at our next session. What I've learned is that when you talk to folks that work on elevators, they don't work on all elevators. They only work on certain kinds of elevators. So depending on what kind of elevator you have, depends on who you can get a bid from. So we've got one I think is fairly responsive and be that, just so you guys know, it's around $80,000. So it's not a cheap fix on this one, but I think it's important that we get moving on that sooner rather than later, because people do rely on that elevator, and we want our building to be accessible for folks. So just a heads up on that, that'll be coming your way. I did have a meeting with folks from Bridge House today, but more to the point, they are, again, Bridge House is the folks that run the Ready to Work program, and they have secured the building in Inglewood, just across our border, for the Ready to Work program. And they're working on the financing aspects of that and working with their bank on getting a bank loan put together on that. What they need is their bank is looking at funding commitments, and we've made funding commitments from our city. The other Tri-Cities have made it, the county have made it, and others. So I'll be putting together, and I'll share this with you. Since we as a council, you guys have already been good with saying, yes, we're good with spending ARPA money to support that effort. I'll put together a funding letter. I'll share it out to you guys and send that off to them. And then I'll work with the city attorney before we issue out a final one. We can, we'll put together kind of a contract, almost like a contract type of a document. At least it spells out the expectations of saying, we're supplying this money, you will be using it for X, Y, and Z, capital improvements, securing the building, tenant finish, those kind of things like that. So I'll bring that for council for you guys to approve, just so we have that paper trail of, you didn't just write a $250,000 check over to Bridge House and just said bye-bye, and have fun. So a heads up on that. I'll be bringing that to you here shortly, because they're requesting the the funding commitments at this point so they can start working out their loan. I'm appointing Jenna as our acting city clerk until such time that Arlene gets cleared to be able to come back from work. I won't go into it too much, and this is a public meeting, but she is doing better. She is back at home and is looking at about a 3 to 4 month recovery period. And if you want more, I'd be happy to tell you guys on an individual basis and not in a public setting. We're finishing up the transition from Empower to One America. These are the companies that do our retirement planning and investing for our employee plan. And we're transitioning from Empower to One America because we're going to get much better customer service from One America. They've already been out and been working with our employees. We'll get financial advising for our employees as part of this. Much more responsive, much more customer friendly setup for our folks, and hopefully I'm glad that that's wrapping up. It's been it's a pretty involved process moving that much money and accounts and everything from one to another and doing that transition period. So our staff has been really good in working on that, and we're coming close to having that completed hopefully this month. Just a reminder that we have another bulk drop-off event. It's going to be on Saturday, July 23rd, 8 a.m. to noon, same place over at Sheridan Middle School, where we've done the last ones. And this again is to help make up for the miscommunication from Republic on the first bulk drop-off. We definitely saw a reduction in the amount of what am I trying to say, roll-offs that we do. We generally, and I apologize, Randy couldn't make it tonight and he'd know the numbers off the top of his head, but we were like doing 7, 8, 9 roll-offs or so. And I think this last time with the bulk roll-off, we just did a couple, 3, maybe. Was it 3? Thank you. So it was obvious that the word didn't get out the way it should have and the way it usually does. So this will help make up for that. And again, so mark it on your calendars, and we have the information out there on July 23rd for another bulk drop-off. I'm sorry? Oh, 8 to noon, 8 in the morning till noon. And we will include electronics. So if people want to bring electronics, they can bring electronics this. Sometimes we don't, we do those as separate events, but this will be, they will be accepting electronics. And I think that's what I wanted to mention to you, Mayor. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. Anybody have any questions? Okay. We don't have Chief tonight. Anything from his area? No?
With us online.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yes.
Chief.
Good
you got anything
evening,
to share?
Mayor, Council. I'm in Estes Park. I'm in the Colorado Association Chiefs of Police Conference. So I'm out here in beautiful Estes Park. So don't want to make you too jealous.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you all again for the wonderful car show that you attended. Of course, the mayor was there, the city manager, our Councilman Smith, Councilman Whitaker, Councilman Hall are the ones that I know that I saw for sure. But thank you all. South Suburban Parks was wonderful with us as usual. And of course, Sheridan High School for partnering with us. I'll let you know when we get a final figure of how much money we raised for them. But then again, our Sheridan staff that was there, our Sheridan police officers and our Sheridan residents. So I hope you all enjoyed yourself, and thank you all again for attending. Do you have any questions for me, Mayor or City Council?
I just want to say that was a very good event that was put on. And another thing to thank is our businesses and the people, the regular civilian people that stepped up to help. You could name them all off, but that was awesome that they came and helped out with that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. That was a good event. I really enjoyed myself, and I could tell everyone was having a good time. So good job again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Anybody have any questions for the chief tonight? All right. Well, have a good conference. Hope it's
you.
educational and entertaining.
I'll do my best. Thanks again.
Okay, we'll move along to the minutes of the regular city council meeting of June 27th, 2022.
I'll move to approve the minutes of regular city council meeting of 6/27/2022.
I'll second.
Motion made by Councilmember Daigle, seconded by Councilmember Whitaker. Any discussion on minutes? Can I get a vote, please?
Councilmember Hall,
Yes.
Stang,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
Mayor Butterfly,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitaker,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Next, the consent agenda, authorized disbursements that have been or will be made from June 15th, 2022 to June 30th, 2022 in the amount of $495,936.69 per the referenced and attached transfer of funds.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
One second. Motion made by Councilmember Daigle and seconded by Councilmember Stang. Any discussion or questions on the consent agenda?
No.
Can I get a vote, please?
Councilmember Stang,
Yes.
Daigle,
Yes.
Mayor Butterfly,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitaker,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We do not have any public hearings or any items for individual consideration tonight.
Mayor,
We have,
I'm terribly sorry to
Yes.
interrupt, but can I just for 1 second interrupt?
Yes,
I'm sorry,
please, yeah.
sorry. It just goes back to an item that is included in your packet. I meant to mention this in my report. And since you just kind of went through consent agenda and a lot of the items that we include in the packet for your information, one of the items that we usually have in there is an itemized payroll report that shows each of our employees and what they get paid. I have taken that out of our packet. I don't know if you know, but a few months ago, I was the subject of a scam where they called up to our payroll department or sent our payroll department an email saying, "This is Devin, and take my paycheck and deposit. I wanted to change my direct deposit to a different bank." And they knew how much my check was for. They knew that because it's in that packet. It's public information. We had all of that payroll report showed all of our employees by name and each of their paycheck and how much was being paid each of that time. That's too much information in today's world. If you want to see that report, I'm happy to show it to you. You just let me know. I'm happy to show you that report. But I told staff to take that out of the packet because it's no longer safe for, there's just too many people out there that can take that information and do bad things with it if they know your name and they know how much deposit is going into your bank. So yeah, it was we caught it just before it got transferred. My paycheck got transferred to a different bank. So there's folks out there that are looking. We're not immune. We're not immune, and that's where they're getting that information from.
that's a good idea.
We still provide in sections of that packet, we provide the overall number that we have for our payroll, and that we just do not break it out by name anymore. Again, I'm happy to share that with you guys as council members. Just let me know and I'll either send that to you, or you can look at that. It's not that it's not public information, it's that I don't want to make it more public than I have to.
Right.
So I just wanted to make
Sounds good.
you guys aware of that. Thank you.
I got a similar scam, but I think they must not have seen how much I make, or they wouldn't have bothered.
Could have been like, yeah.
They've seen it, they're like, oh, not worth
Oh, never.
That's messed up. They said, nah.
Nah.
All right. Yeah, thanks. I think that's really smart to take that out.
Yeah.
All right. So the next item we have tonight is local licensing authority. The council is now going to act as the local licensing authority at 7:30 p.m. to consider resolution number 16 of 2022. And my script says that I should ask if you have some remarks for us, city attorney.
I have no other remarks that were not discussed at the study session.
Okay. Is there anything that council would like to discuss about the
The authority.
festival? I'm sorry, the authority would like to discuss about the festival permit.
I do see that it's, I think it's a necessary thing. I understand it, how the need and I think it will be a good thing for the city even.
Yeah, I think it's a good business-friendly move. It gives another option for businesses that want to branch out in that direction.
Great.
Are we missing any revenue by charging so little?
The fee amount is set in the state statute. Yes, it's not very much.
Right.
The one thing I'd send to Devin was, I mean, it seemed like the fee was just kind of there to get them in the door, and then we want to make sure they get licensed for sales tax remittance. That's the main thing, you know?
Yeah, and as the city attorney, usually on most of those fees associated with liquor, that's most generally set by the state as to what we can charge.
And then we have a business license fee and then a sales tax license fee. That's $75 annually for the two.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like it. Can I make a motion to approve it?
Is your mic on? Real quiet. Maybe it's not high enough.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 16-2022.
I'll second.
All right. Motion made by Board Member Kelly and seconded by Board Member Whitaker.
Ron. No, it was actually me.
Oh, was it Smith? Sorry, I was looking at this way. Okay.
I think all of our mics are low.
Board Member Smith. Any further discussion? We just have a roll call vote. No more discussion. Sorry. Go ahead.
Councilmember Daigle?
Yes,
Or is it member? Sorry, Member Daigle,
yes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I jumped ahead.
Chairman Biderfleur,
Yes.
Member Whitaker,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Stang,
Yes.
unanimous, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. So we'll now reconvene to the regular city council meeting at 7:33 PM. And we have mayor's choice. My mayor's choice is just an event listing because that's what's coming up. We have Sheridan Celebrates Thursday night. We have Coffee with Council at 9 AM at Panera on Saturday, and Park Palooza Sunday from 5 to 7:30 at Bobcat Park. So come on out and have some fun at all these great events. That's all I have. Any council members have something for tonight?
No, but if anybody wants to help to show up and help us get loaded and unloaded, that would be awesome.
Oh, I got excited there for a minute.
Yep, I was thinking something else when you said that.
Not that kind of loaded
I was like, wow.
for the Parkapalooza.
They didn't get the festival permit yet, sorry.
You know, we didn't apply for a festival permit, but we are pretty close to the long shot.
Yeah.
so. But I'm talking about loading up.
Trailer.
Jay-
Right. We got that.
Jay is using his trailer. So we need to go into the firehouse and load up all the equipment and then unload and what have you. So we could use the manpowers.
Anybody else?
I do.
Go ahead.
You know, last week we heard, I think it was Chief talked about a fire that happened in the city and the hydrant was dry. Is it a possibility, and I don't know if that's in our contract, but could we put it in the contract with Denver Fire that they inspect those monthly,
Right.
quarterly, and then council get a report? I don't know what would be in the report. Yeah, there's water there. No, there's, just a report, because this is it's really a big liability.
That's a big deal to me.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
big deal. So, because you know where they're gonna point the finger at if their house goes down, there's no water.
Mhm.
Oh,
And I apologize, Randy was dealing with a family issue tonight and was going to be here and was going to talk a little bit about hydrants. And he's talked to Denver Fire, he's talked to Denver Water, and they've had some discussions about that. And he briefed me a little bit about it, but we were going to talk a little bit more, and I don't know everything. So we'll still follow up. I promise that we'll be following up on that. We'll have a discuss. I'll definitely have a discussion with the chief because I still have, monthly discussions with the fire chief about that and look at doing that. So we'll come back with that hydrant information and kind of talk to you. I know what has been done, and then I'll double look at the contract and see if there's something that's adjustments that can be made that way. And then the other comment that we heard, and as a follow-up to that was, as part of one of our public hearings was that, Denver Fire wouldn't be able to go down a specific alley in the street. We talked to our fire folks later that week, and they said they would not go down that alley anyway. That would not be their choice to go down any alleys in the city. They only fight from the front, and they don't want to go down alleys. And they don't go down alleys in Denver unless it's absolutely positively necessary. And that would be the same case here, because that's, as a best practice, they don't want their personnel, they don't want their equipment going down a narrow alley and potentially getting stuck there, or any of the other bad things that can happen if you get into an alley or a small alley with a big truck. So they will fight from the front. Most of our lots, I think the longest lots we have, like over that are 150 feet. They can run 300 feet of hose. So they got plenty enough hose to fight from the front or almost any of our residential lots. So I just wanted to pass that along to you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mhm.
Good.
And we will, in Dallas, excellent, Claire, we will follow up on the hydrant side, and we'll get some more information for you.
Thank you.
So back to just to add to that, we don't ever hardly hear from them as a council. Would it
Good point.
be a good idea we hear from would it be okay to hear from them once in a while?
From Denver, from the fire department?
Sure.
Yeah, we get briefings and we meet with them at the staff level quite a bit and work with them. And I think the last time the chief came out and talked to council was,
Been a while.
well, it was
It was new.
it was December. It was our December meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was
Yeah, he
contract.
came to our work session. So that's been about 6 months. Yeah. So, he's always said he's happy to come out there if that's what you want. If you want to have something as a regular type of a report or something, let me know what that might look like, and I can communicate that to the fire department, and we can do that. I'm sure we got our folks that work here locally in the fire station too would be happy to come and talk every once in a while and kind of let you know how things are going locally, rather than having the chief. It's nice to have the chief. But he's not going to maybe know as much what's going on right here.
So could that could be part of our goal setting? It's
Yeah.
been added to
Under public safety?
public safety or whatever, just maybe quarterly, have one of them come out and say, hey.
Good look at doing something like that.
Because they do a lot of stuff as well.
Oh, yeah.
For the community and what have you, and it'd be kind of nice to hear what they're doing.
Okay.
Anybody else have topics they want to bring up?
I'd like to add to Dallas's thing. I know way back when the fire department and the Denver Water Board used to work together and go around to check all the fire hydrants, not only because see if they have water, but a lot of times when they set, they get stagnant and they got rust and stuff in them. So they open them up to make sure that they're clean. And they used to do it, I think, quarterly. But, just a suggestion.
I can't speak down to what their time frame is, but they still have requirements to go check on hydrants. Right. Sure, those same kind of things. Yeah. But I haven't looked at the contract on that aspect of it lately. We'll have that discussion though with the chief. And Randy might have known that off the top of his head because I know he's had the discussions with him. I just don't know that myself. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, for our Park Palooza party on Sunday, I'm just hoping that we can have a police cruiser there from start to finish, if it's possible. Place to ask for that, or?
I'll definitely work on getting that if you're requesting that. Certainly we'll get somebody out there.
Thank you, sir. I think it'd be great.
Sure, we'll be there.
Anybody else? No, okay. Another opportunity for the public, if there's anyone from the public who'd like to speak to council.
No, Madam Mayor.
Then we'll adjourn. Time 7:40 PM. Thank you, everybody.